But as we're doing this process, and you can see I've temporarily put things on here, and I've written 6:1 because the original information I found said. So we press the throttle pedal and throttle opens and shuts. Yes, so big smiles for me. So I've been messing around with that for a little while now. So I've got most of it connected. I just had a few connectors I was waiting for, and Posty's come along today and he's brought the last few connectors I need. Because of course, with it all being different, the knock sensor connector I ordered first was the wrong size, so fingers crossed that when he's just brought the right size. Anyway, I should get all those done, and then I've got to sort of test things as they're connected. So obviously to be able to start the engine up, I need some fuel. So I need to just do some tests on the fuel pump and set the fuel regulator, because I'm not too sure how the fuel pressure is regulated on these. So that's the fuel rail with the inlet there, and I can't see any signs of a pressure regulator. A lot of the things when I've been looking it up show like a lump here, which is clearly a regulator, but I don't have that. So because of going turbo, obviously I was going to need an external regulator anyway, and somewhere in this pile of bits to fit is one of those regulators that you use for turbos, because they up the fuel pressure in direct relation to the turbo pressure. So anyway, I need to fit one of those, and we might not be too far off of starting this. I think what I'll do is I'll be helpful here for anyone else in the same pickle, and I can show you the connectors. So there's the throttle body. Number them how you like. Okay, so we just call them, we'll start from the top and we'll call that number 1. So that is the signal line to the ECU. The orange one is a 5-volt supply from the ECU. The next one is the second signal line going to the ECU. Then we have a signal earth, and then we have the 2 motor drive ones. So on the software it says throttle like motor 1 and 2, but with this there's only one motor in here, but what it requires is voltage one way around opens the throttle body, and then the other way around shuts the throttle body. So basically these must be, so obviously the ECU is clever enough to work that one out. Okay, so hopefully that's useful, and that might save some people an awful lot of time. So this may be one of the things I'm doing on the car that I sort of am qualified for. So I am an electronic engineer. However, my experience with engineering is I used to do the commissioning stuff, not the wiring. So when I was wired it up and I came along and made it work. So I don't really have a great deal of experience with doing looms. Although once upon a time when I was an apprentice I was taught how to do it, but that was a year or 2 ago. Anyway, I'll sort of talk you through my process of doing it, and you know, you can use that as a help if you like. So I am now going to be pulling out all this original loom, because I think I don't need that anymore, but I will try and take it out in as complete an order as possible, just in case I do need to refer back to it if when we spark all this up we find those problems. So there we are, that's the Honda loom out the way, which I don't know, does that make this lot look neater or worse? I don't know, one or the other. So I've got to be honest with you, I'm not too sure what I have and haven't filmed here, because it's been a little while, and I've been doing the wiring loom, which, you know, I know a lot of you might think my channel's a bit boring anyway, but, you know, crimping connectors. Anyway, I was doing that. I worked doing the supercar driving thing. I caught flu. I was in bed for the best part of a week and I was completely knackered, so I haven't been out here a great deal. Oh, by the way, you're probably hearing on the news if you're watching this now about this flu outbreak being quite bad. If you get a chance to get that vaccine done for flu, go get it done. Well, it just wiped me out. You know, I couldn't do anything. So 4 days in bed and then probably another 5 or 6 days doing virtually bugger all. Anyway, let's get back on the subject. So I'll show you where we are. So just about all the wiring's done. Some of it I've reused old connectors and just temporarily connected. That's because I'm still waiting for the correct connectors. They're coming in the end. Fuel system it's sort of as it will be in the car, but of course when the side pod's here, obviously this will all be attached and not covered over. And covered over. So it's sort of a bit, I know it all looks a bit Heath Robinson at the moment, but we're at quite an important stage. Jerry can of fuel, engine attached. There's no water attached, so it'll be a short startup, but we are getting pretty close to startup. Before I can start up, obviously I need to put some fuel in and I need to set the fuel pressure. I put a little marker on here. Evidently it needs to be, what's on that, 50 psi I think. So I've got the you can set like the priming time on the Haltech. So I've got that set fairly long. Hopefully that will then give me time to set the fuel pressure up. Quick change of plan. I've just shorted out the relay so as I can keep it running. So at the moment, you might wonder why I've got 2 lift pumps here. The reason being is on the Exo Booster, the first time I broke down is a lift pump failed. So on this one I've put 2, so if one fails I've still got one working. And I have checked, they do, like if one stops it will suck the fuel through the other. Anyway, so we now have fuel in the fuel tank, coming down here, do our fuel filter, it's filled up our swill pot, and now it's coming back down. So, I don't think you can see in there, but it's doing a full loop round, which is what it's supposed to do. And we've got a fuel leak here, so we best sort that out now. Okay, so I think we're now leak free. I don't know, someone maybe can tell me where that seems to be very aerated. Does that tell me that there's a bit of air getting in before? I don't know. Perhaps someone can tell me that. But anyway, there's not fuel coming out at the moment, which is the most important thing, especially where I'm using crop clips and things to power everything up. There's always the possibility of a spark, isn't there? Right, so now if I get this pump going, this is a high pressure one, I can set that pressure up there. I was going to show you setting this up, but my crappy little tripod just broke, so I can't. So we've now got fuel pressure. We're about 40, which is still slightly high. I'll just knock that back a bit. You adjust it by just turn the little thing on the top and it just adjusts a bit. I think it was 55. I put a little mark on here just to remind me. So that's pretty well set, and we don't have fuel coming out of any of these lines, which is important. So hopefully that means we've now got fuel getting there. So I've got the laptop connected in via the USB and got a basic little dash on here. I haven't got things out, so temporary throttles there. If I operate the throttle, nothing happens. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Right, so we've got some error codes here. Pulsing, we've got all this overcurrent stuff going on. I don't know why that should be. Okay, it's not happy with my grounds. I know about that, and at the moment I've just got them temporarily earthed out, and it doesn't want the main battery and sort of power supplies on the same ground as the signal ground. So that's fine, because that's all just part of that. It's not going to make much difference with this. Right, give me a minute. My little tip: if you buy one of these fuse relay boxes off of eBay, the actual, you know, the plastic itself, the connectors all seem fine. If it comes with these relays, just chuck them in the bin. They are absolute rubbish. I've just had a bit of messing around with the throttle position stuff. I've done it again. I keep knocking the earth. Obviously this throttle body has been sat on this engine for quite a while doing nothing, so I've given it a good clean. It was giving me errors and saying it wasn't moving fully, so I've given it a good spray with good old carb cleaner. And then I was getting errors with the throttle position and noticed that my temporary earth on there wasn't actually earthed, which is no surprise. I was getting errors on there, really, wasn't it? Right, so obviously I've got no tripod. This could be quite shaky. So we're going to switch on ignition. I'm going to press the starter button. Trying to get the RPM up. Oh, I just forgot to do something then. Yes! Engine is running! Bit smoky. Not sure that tick over wasn't a bit fast. But it's running. So we've obviously got some sensors not there. Smoking away. Woof. Now, previous owner had put a whole load of oil down the barrels and that, so I guess that's going to take a little bit of time to burn off. I don't know if you can tell from here, my garage is now turned very, very foggy. So I think it's time for a celebration cup of coffee. Like I said, I'm really not too sure what I've got on here for video, but thanks for Phil in Salisbury and a couple of other people for prompting me. I will edit this down and call this an end. So on that note of engine running and me choking in the garage, I'll catch you all later.